Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't.
Ring, ring, ring. Hello, please, and welcome back to the magical crowns. Crypto cave.
Wow, how do you top that? Who fucking knows? But you know what? It's time to welcome you back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a nice little, it's not so nice of a Saturday morning over here. It's actually cold as fuck, man. And I actually love the cold, but holy shit, it is like really cold here. Anyways, we got a few things to talk about today on today's video. I want to follow up on the targets from yesterday's live stream. We saw a little bit of action around the close, getting that 7,300 tick that we were looking for. But the question is, do we expect a little bit more, or is continuation expected coming up? And, you know, this is a really interesting time in cryptocurrency land, not because price actions, you know, doing anything of too much interest, but because it's very reminiscent of those times during late September, during late March of this current year, and during late November of the past prior year in 2018. All of these times when everyone was kind of like not really paying attention, just kind of, you know, losing interest in cryptocurrencies or just in trading in general, that's typically when the moves do occur. So I'm going to be, you know, I'm actually going to be likely letting go of that idea that I think Bitcoin doesn't break the $7,000 to $8,000 range within this next month. Essentially, I actually think I'm gonna be showing plenty of things today that do suggest that we probably see that break sooner rather than later. I think actually even within this next week of price action, very reasonable. And on top of that, because it has been a pretty boring price action, less time in Bitcoin land, I'm thinking that I'm gonna bring back the Twitch streams. And I'm thinking a little bit later today, I'll probably do a little bit of a Twitch stream. I think it's just a good idea to have like the gaming going on. And then if something actually happens in Bitcoin land, well, we're right there to fucking capture it. And that's, you know, the best defense against a dull and boring market. Great saying out there that my mentor used to always say, don't sell a dull market short. Well, don't also long a dull market either. You know, this thing's been pretty much unmovable. So with that said, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest. I forgot to talk about the fucking Krown trading app once again. God damn it. Sorry about that. I don't mean to piss off the Jesus people out there, but it's not intended. It's just a bad way of expressing myself. But what I should say is that the Krown trading application is going to be ready for all platforms, all peoples of all races, genders, cultural creeds, and also gender pronouns. So to all the zers and sirs out there, well, you will be able to access the Krown trading app for free, hopefully around Christmas time we're aiming for. So everything's on schedule thus far, so cool. Anyways, with that said, wishing the best from a very cold and cold and rainy Helsinki morning this morning. So I'm gonna hit that button and I'll see you. And there she goes into the live scene. We are, and starting off with the daily. You know, Bitcoin is putting a little bit of base support right on around here. We spoke about this during this week. It's been very, very slow like molasses, but that is, you know, that's kind of like par for the course when Bitcoin's going through one of these long-form consolidations. Going over here to the 4-hour dildo time frame, we got plenty of wicks, just like we were looking for into this blue box territory right here. This is also outlined by the 618 Fibonacci retracement, and also just kind of like our horizontal base support for this formation. Now, while I actually do think that it's kind of likely that Bitcoin does give another test back up here, into this region, even after that 7,300 rejection that we saw yesterday, the overall feeling of this has not changed at all. And I don't really have too much of an intent to be trading this action right here. You know, I don't feel all that confident with this. You know, could Bitcoin go up or down from here? Do we make another leg up towards 7,400-ish region or 7,350? Maybe do we come all the way back down to 7,150, 7,100-ish region? Maybe. That's not the important thing in my opinion right now. The important thing is looking at the structure as a whole and then playing the structure and realizing that the next big play is actually really likely to happen relatively soon for a few reasons. So let's first go over that and start with the lower time frames. We do see that we are kind of in a descending triangle right now. We're not kind of in a descending triangle. We are in a descending triangle. The shape is right. The structure is right. The volume signature is also right. The smell, taste, and I don't know what else could be right. I don't know, the fucking texture, whatever the fuck that means, you know, is also right. And here's the thing, and this is why I actually do think that it's possible that we do make a move outside of this range within this next week is actually quite feasible. So whenever you see a formation like this, you typically get forced into a decision around the 75 to 69% full marker, which would be around here. I mean, you could even say that we're kind of nearing that point already, but that'd be a little bit more around here, around the 16% mark right here, or sorry, not 16%, the 16th of December, which is only a few days away actually. And looking at the volume signature as well, we have that nice orderly drop off in volume, which will come to a convergence somewhere right around, well, all the way basically at the end of December, which will be certainly forced to make a decision. But again, it usually breaks around this time, which would actually be within this next week. So I do think that is very likely that we actually see a break of this formation next week. Of course, the descending triangle is going to be more on the bearish side, but I've seen every fucking pattern break out every way possible, except to the left-hand side. Except actually, I think I have, because believe it or not, I think I actually have, because you do see rollbacks in traditional markets. So that actually does happen. So measure move on the descending triangle if we actually do break to the downside, which would only be had if we actually do close at the very least a 2-hour delta below 71.20, 71.10. I'd prefer a 4-hour or higher time frame is going to be better. That would likely net us all the way back down to this prior low at about 6650-ish region, or 666, the devil's number, the devil's dick hole, showing us right around here that would be kind of the proverbial target for that. I do think that there would be a short bounce maybe around 6900-ish region. That's also 786 Fibonacci retracement right here, and would kind of make sense from a longer term time frame perspective, which we'll get into in a little bit. This video is not going to be too focused on long term time frames though, just because, well, it's a weekend video, and I'll save that for tomorrow really. Now, of course, if we actually do break this out to the upside, which is I think it's less likely for sure, but let's just kind of postulate these ideas, because again, my opinion of this is irrelevant. If we actually do break this to the upside with a, I don't think a 4-hour would do it for me here. I'd say like a 12-hour or daily, no less. Technically above this 7450-ish region, although I would say this would be just ripe for fuckage in this region. Even if we did close above this region, I know a lot of people are going to target a move up here towards 7850, this prior high. Makes a lot of sense. It is kind of in that liquid territory, outlining the high of the bounce. So it would be a natural target for pattern traders. But I do believe that this area right here, 7550, would be a very, very stifling moment and very revealing onto whether we're actually going to get that move or not. So I would say that, if we did close above this region, I wouldn't get too excited about it. But that's just me. This is not finished advice. It's not a finished advisor. But I would be looking for a move up here, 7550 at the very least, and then probably play another position off that. The 236 fib is there as well, and you can see that we played on it on our last local high. So I do think that it would be of relevance, and I don't really have any reason to get like overall macro bullish. Macro bullish doesn't come until we create an uptrend on the weekly, which is not happening anytime soon. So Bitcoin still got a lot of work to do, but in the lower time frames, we are seeing some moves actually postulate themselves, bringing up historical volatility percentile. It's also suggesting we are at major extremes right now. 4-hour historical volatility percentile is null. It's fucking void. It's zero, basically. Very rarely in the history of Bitcoin does it even get this low. And the times that it does, well, that's your September move right here, your September dump. That's your August. I think this was an August pump right here, actually, for a couple $1,000. Before that, coming out of February, March of last market, having this massive move to the upside. And then, of course, before the major downfall in late 2018 as well. And again, very, very reminiscent of those times. I'm sure that you can confirm this yourself, that the market seems very barren right now. It seems like a lot of the social media people are actually leaving. It seems like a lot of the people just in general are leaving. I certainly noticed that on my own channel. Like my views and everything are down significantly. For me, it's not as huge of a deal for other people, but because like my main source of income comes from trading. But you can imagine that this puts a lot of strain across all of like the crypto Twitter influencers and the crypto YouTube influencers and all that good shit. So for better or worse, it will wash people out, and that actually is something to be keeping an eye on. And I want to bring this up over here. I haven't brought this up in a while. Sorry, Jesus Christ, it's not working. But to that point, I actually do want to bring this up because, I've joked around about this before, but this is actually kind of like a big deal. Let me bring this up. Jesus Christ, come on, there you go. All right, there it is. We're gonna do one of the most prized indicators in all of cryptocurrency land. This is perhaps one of the best ones. In fact, this is the Superman indicator right here. We could also do Data Dash as well, but we'll pick on him later, or maybe not pick on him today. He's already been picked on enough. This is a chart of monthly video views for Superman and also subscribers down here as well. You can see that it went absolutely parabolic to the fucking gill in early 2018, right? That was when Bitcoin was rallying to 20,000 and all the shitcoins were like, you know, the fucking the thing to do. Well, what happens after that? It's been fucking flatlining, right? And we're actually at new lows. We're literally at new lows for viewerships, for these people. And I'd imagine that data dash is probably very similar. Oh, you bastard! How dare you, internet? All right, well, whatever. Figure that one out later. I can't confirm that for the for the other one mentioned, but you get the idea. That is actually very, 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 very telling of the market in general, because when people first come into this market, what do? Well, first thing first, they go on to like Coinbase or Binance and get wrecked on some fucking alt, and then they go onto YouTube. Why am I wrecked with altcoin XYZ? And then the first video that they're going to see is something from like Superman or a data dash or something like that. So looking at the influx of views from those people is actually quite telling into where we are in the overall market scheme. And right now the market's quite dead, but that is actually at the time when we actually do see typically major moves happen. So funnily enough, you can chart these things, and actually has a good degree of history. We're actually below. I don't know if you remember where we just said, or sorry, remember what we just looked at. But I just closed the window and I don't want to bring it up again. But on Superman's views, we actually see his current views below what they were, at the genesis before that major rally a couple years ago. So we are getting to extremes now, is what that tells me. So that is of interest. Anyways, while we are here, we do have a little bit of an inverted head and shoulders on the lower time frames, technically speaking, although that could very easily go by the wayside if we do lose this 7,300 support, we'll call it, on the very low time frames. Technically, the measure move on this baby would be right around about 7375, 7400-ish region, the blue box territory right here, which would also meet perfectly this downtrend resistance line. So, and also the 382 Fibonacci retracement. So a lot of things lining up there, and that would still, put us in a descending triangle. And the big thing with this is that if we do break this ascending triangle to the downside, which is more statistically likely, what is that going to make the higher time frames look like? Well, we're going to once again be downtrending on the daily, which we are actually technically still downtrending on the daily right now. But we don't really have like new lows as of yet. We have lower highs the whole way through. It's it looks like redistribution, to be fair, but it's we're not like moving right now, so to speak. 2-day is a little bit more obvious with this one, and more importantly, look at where the 2-day major support is. This is the one that's been kind of holding us up the whole way through. When we broke it over here to the upside, very good. When we broke it over here to the downside, very bad. Not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. And more importantly, we do see the 21 cross on the downside of the 200 right here. So just more downside pressure, and this looks quite nasty, to be fair. But more importantly, if we do see that break down, keeping the measure move in mind to about 6,650 to 6,700, that actually brings us below this 200 simple right here. And if we do close below it, I would be looking for the next major washout in price. In price action. Just from a more obvious stance, we can look at the volume profile right here, and you do see that there's major activity in the. Let's go to a daily, perhaps. It's going to be a little more clean. You're going to see that there's major activity in this, mid to low 6,000 region, and of which we pretty much already kind of tested it. In fact, if you look at it like this, that does count, and that's very much valid. So I would be, that would kind of make sense for Bitcoin to float towards that area of higher liquidity. If you're not familiar with the volume profile, that's essentially what it does. Assets like to float towards areas of basically higher liquidity in essence, and find out who's actually, who's actually playing there. Where does the liquidity actually lie, and what's going on there? So looking at this right here, and while we are on the daily, I do want to mention that again, all higher time frames are bearish. We have all lower pairs trading below higher pairs. We have all major moving averages with a negative slope, and looks pretty nasty, man. Again, very, very similar to what we saw back and over here, where we got the death cross on the EMAs between the green 55 and the purple 200. We see the 200 simple get a negative slope afterwards. We see this consolidation down here, which is kind of what we're doing right now in Bitcoin land, where the 21 rejects price action the whole way through, and then once price action gets back down below the 10 simple, that is when your next big washout occurs. So what are we looking at right now? Well, something very similar, actually. We are below all major moving averages. We are being held by the 21 the whole way down through this whole move to the downside, and we're seeing the 200 simple start to slowly but surely get a negative slope. It's not like it's kind of there right now, but it's going to look a lot more nasty in about a week, assuming that we don't rally back up above 93 to 9400. So That's the whole thing with it. Looking at the daily, we do see daily momentum oscillator still more on the bearish side, to be fair. Daily Stokes coming down. Daily RSI is flat. Neither bullish nor bearish, I'd say. I mean, well, it's certainly more bearish than anything, but you know, it's not really giving a signal. I'm sure a lot of people are talking about this on the Jewel. This is not a signal at all whatsoever. I don't want to sound condescending, but how many fucking times do I need to repeat this shit? This is not the jewels you're looking for, my friends. These are not the droids. These are not the jewels you're looking for. When the light blue comes very aggressively down like this, you're probably going to get a fake out like you saw right over here on 19th of October. That was before this move down, and then you actually set up for a perfect buy signal right here. But you want all of them to kind of curl up at the same time, like you see on this secondary run right here. That's your perfect signal, actually. And even that one, you know, I did not catch this one, although plenty of other people did. This one over here, us coming down this aggressively right now, it kind of like needs to flatten out a little bit, is what that tells me. And also we see a lot of divergence between the pink and the white, and we're finding the overall trend here as well. When I'm looking for a reversal on trend, I want to see something a little bit more obvious. Perhaps, you know, the signal that we saw on the actual low on Bitcoin, the Jewel called it perfectly right here. This is kind of what you're looking for. They want to come in a little bit more lovingly, not so aggressively, and that was quite literally the low right here, December 2015. So, you know, the daily Jewel does mean a lot to me, but waiting for those signals is what means a lot more, because those are typically major turning points on the market. I mean, shit, the last major sell signal that we had was we actually didn't get a perfect sell signal on this one. We got a perfect sell signal right here, which did play out pretty damn well, from 9,050 all the way down to 7,500. Okay, so that's a pretty damn good signal. We didn't really get a perfect one at the top here. I mean, we did get a pretty damn good signal right here, to be fair. That did call 12.8. Pretty damn good, I feel. Anyways, so to round out the lower time frames once again, and also I should mention on daily, historical volatility percentile is still very much contracting here. You know, we're still kind of getting there. But that speaks more to like the macro cycle, so to speak. So lower time frames speak to like, you know, few $100 moves perhaps, and that can have carry on over into the higher time frames, yes. But I still think that the higher time frames are actually contracting here. Anyways, I do want to speak to the upside potential in the lower time frames right now. Again, while I am overall bearish on this formation, I'm gonna always be bearish in a bearish market. Lower time frames do look to me like they want some upside here. You know, looking at the 12-hour, we do see the 12-hour Stokes, which have been more or less really fucking good in calling price action. I mean, just follow the 12-hour Stokes. You know, that's all that it needs to be, man. I mean, if you would have traded the 12-hour Stokes blindly for the last year, you would be very successful. I hate to say it too, because I fucking hate it. You know, I hate those kind of like, you know, pleb. That's what one of my colleagues used to call it, pleb friendly indicators. But hey, man, when you find some inputs that work, just fucking go with it. And this one curling up right now, going to confirm across the upside in about 4 hours, 41 minutes and 54 seconds. So I think a very obvious target would be the 21, but I do think that we'd actually get past there. I think that we can very much easily fill up the top side of this range. Obviously, when we go back to our BitMexican chart, we already spoke about potential targets for that. Blue box territory right here would be kind of an obvious one as well. But more importantly, you know, we do see the 55 exponential moving average, this green moving average, kind of getting these very nasty wicks that we see to the upside. So, you know, perhaps somewhere around there as well, if things get crazy, you know, 75, 50 would be an area of interest. Absolutely. So I do think that lower time frames have a little bit more upside here than not. If I had to call it, you know, if I had to trade this one, I'd probably be short, like very, 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 very short term long. But again, I'm not trading this. I have no interest in trading this. And this price action right here is AIDS tier price action. This is not the kind of shit that I'm looking for to trade. Although I do think that it actually does trade a little bit up in the short to medium time frames. Higher time frames are still very much, you know, very much conclusive, or I shouldn't say conclusive. Nothing's ever conclusive, but very much demanding of some nasty downside. Looking at the weekly right here, I said I wouldn't focus on too much higher time frames for this video, which is already 20 minutes long. Holy shit, man. But you know, as long as we're below the 55 exponential moving average on the weekly, I am overall bearish. I will save the long-term analysis for tomorrow, but remember that there is a head and shoulders on the weekly, which does have a measure move all the way down to 4,400-ish region, and that would also be in line very much with all of the major fibs. We see the 618 that we're kind of currently on right now After we lose that, we got the 786 down here, right around the 200 exponential moving average, and then below that we have the 886, which would be around that proverbial target. Not only that, but if we throw back on the volume profile, you see the biggest volume. You see one of the biggest, thickest nodes. It's coming in down around that mid to low 4,000. So, you know, I do want to show that I am overall bearish, and that I do think that it's very possible that we actually get down there. But of course, as a trader, I take things one step at a time, and I treat each and every one of these macro trend lines here. This one being 6,600, this one being 5,500, this one being 4,400 as potential reversal points, and extremely likely for bounces. However, and that even includes the one that we're on right now, of course. But I don't think it's very likely that we bottom out on this one. Could it happen? Yes. But I will not change my opinion on the market from bearish to bullish on the macro until Bitcoin creates an uptrend on the weekly. If Bitcoin does that, I would be happy to be bullish and be massively bullish. Of trading the weekly trend has been the most easy and profitable strategy for Bitcoin long-term traders since the eternity of eternity. All you've had to do is just wait for a weekly downtrend confirmed or a weekly uptrend confirmed. Those ones usually play out for 6 months to a year longer. I mean, these are the ones to catch if you want to be that sexy person, with plus 1 billion on their ROI, where the fuck that means. Means nothing is what it means. Only your P&L matters, not your ROI. Anyways, looking at this right here. As long as it's below the 55, I'm heavily bearish. And if we actually do close this next weekly below the 89, which is 72.59 and a half on stamp, which again closes tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time, this is going to look like your next local high and a lower high at that. And that means that we could move that point down to create an uptrend potentially for Bitcoin down to this last local high, which would be right around 75.24 on a closing basis. Currently, it is all the way up here at about 9,500. So in order for Bitcoin to really flip around the trend currently, it actually has to do a lot more work, which is pretty fucking nasty. And if we set in a lower high right here by closing below the 89, I would say that we're getting ready for lower lows, or at the very least a retest of these prior lows, which would be in line with the measure move on that descending triangle that we looked at on the lower time frames. So make no mistake about it, I am overall bearish, even though lower time frames look like they probably do have another pop to the upside. Anyways, looking at weekly momentum oscillators, we see weekly Stochs still down, very nasty. We see weekly RSI heavily bearish. Weekly Joule is a sell all the way through. Told you to sell right here on the 22nd of July. Told you to hold your shorts here or maybe add on to them on the 11th of November. That was around 9,000. So I'm still telling you to hold that for a little bit of time. So I do err more on the side of caution here. I do not think that Bitcoin's bottomed out at this area. Looking at lower time frames, looking at semi-lower time frames like a 3-day and a 2-day, let's go to 3-day. 3-day, we actually broke below the 200 exponential moving average right here, and you can see that we got these declining tops as well. 200 simple is going to be a major area of interest as well, but I want to throw on something that I haven't looked at in a very long time. Let's go look at the super guppy. And remember, I've been looking at this on the 3-day time frame to kind of judge like the long term. Whenever we've had a color change, we typically stay that color for quite some time, and it's been pretty damn good since the genesis of Bitcoin. Multiple iterations here as well, so it's good enough for me. Anyways, we have turned from green to gray. Which is actually the shortest lived green that we've ever seen in Bitcoin history. I mean, all these prior ones were like multi-years going, and even the red a little bit shorter lived. Anyways, we will switch to red if we do lose the 200 simple right here, and that would tell me that we are going to come very, very likely down at the very least to 5,500 and probably 4,400, 4,500 as well. But for right now, as long as we hold up above it, could still reaccumulate in this region, I suppose. But keep in mind, remember, the lower time frames do show that descending triangle. If we do break to the downside, it's very likely that we actually will break this as well officially, and then we will likely get all those major things hit. So a lot of things to be aware of here. The avalanche of effects is quite massive right now. Looking at the super gup on a 4-hour, Jesus Christ, what a nasty fucker. Anyways, I want to go check out CME, see how they did. How did they close for the week? As we do get to see the weekly close for CMEs as they closed on Friday. We're still holding on to the descending triangle very, very easily. So, would it be likely that this weekend, while CMEs are closed, Bitcoin gets a quick wick up to the upside, gets everyone bullish again, or shakes out a lot of people out of their shorts, and then once CMEs open, we play out the descending triangle that it's printing right now? Perhaps, yes. I mean, and that would kind of align with next week being nasty. Weekly close, very, very nasty. Very fucking ugly here. Very ugly. Weekly Stokes are going to confirm a cross down. Absolutely. Weekly RSI is getting comfortable in the bearish control zone. Weekly Jewel, it's continuation. Nothing good about that. Very little good things to say about that. 2-day, doesn't really have enough history to make anything of it. What about a 4 hour? Not really telling us too much either. What about a 12 hour? Yeah, it looks like a rejection off the 21. I mean, it doesn't look too hot to me. Let's go check out GBDC. I'm curious if we see the same thing over here. Same descending triangle, of course. Looking at daily, below all major moving averages. Death cross initiated. Sorry, hold on. Did we have the death cross initiated on CMEs? I do have like some sort of a fucking zit here or something. It's sensitive. Anyways, yes, we do. The green 55 and the purple 200 crossing the downside right here. Below all major moving averages. All major moving averages have negative slopes. Holy shit, fuck. Bull Jesus, save me. I'm just kidding. Anyways, let's see. Where was my GBDC? I just got distracted by my own self. How did the weekly close on this one? Yeah, pretty nasty as well. But you do see the same sort of base support right here. So while I am overall bearish, I can't get too bearish until we actually break this level. On GBDC, it'd be 862. On CMEs, it would be, what would it be? It would be about, let's call it 7120 on a daily closing basis. And on spot, 7100, 7120-ish region would probably do it for me as well. So yeah, most higher time frames not looking so hot. Lower time frames, could we have another pump up here, maybe test a 21 or something like that, get a quick wake up and reject? Maybe, yeah. I'd be searching for it. I perhaps would be interested in a position right around there. Let's go check out how the other top shitcoins in this market are doing. Sorry, actually, before we do that, let's go look at the expected moves chart. Condensing on itself, we do see 7100 range to 7400 range in the first deviation. So, the first deviation is actually around the bottom side support. So, it would be a little bit less likely that we should move below that right now. By the same token, to move to the upside, 7400 wouldn't really do anything for the lower time frames or even the medium time frames, or sorry, it wouldn't do anything for the medium time frames or really even the lower time frames, but we would hit that first echelon of resistance. I also do want to bring up something else as well. While we are here, why not? Let's put on the Bollinger bands and see what they're doing. So Bollinger bands are squeezing right now. And a lot of the times when you do get a signature like this, you actually do get a pretty massive move. So just another thing kind of agreeing with that sentiment. However, a lot of the time when you get it kind of like hanging down here below the median while it condenses, usually are typically head fakes or good candidates for head fakes. So meaning that, you'd get a quick wick down and then boom, catapult up. Is that possible? Yes. And this would be maybe one of the most hopium inducing ones that I see right now. But as long as below the 20 simple, there ain't nothing fucking bullish about this. I'll tell you that. And that's at 7350-ish region. So got a lot of work to do here. Anyways, okay, let's go back on and check out the other top shitcoins in this. I mean, I should not be that condescending with the other market leaders. Market leaders, number one, Mr. Beaterall. Descending triangle on the lows. We already have continuation on a weekly. Chew. Where? No, I'm just kidding. If you know what I'm talking about, then you have a good taste in movies. How the fuck do I remember that, man? I watched that movie with my father when I was like maybe 8 or 9. No, I'd have been older than that, maybe like 12. I'm 12, and what is this? Would have been my response. Mr. Beaterall right here, a little bit more on the bearish side than Bitcoin, but they're going to do the same thing essentially, basically creating descending triangles on the lows. Mrs. Litecoin, descending triangle on the lows, which actually technically broke already. This one's a little bit, this one's, whenever you get something like this, like which way do you draw? Do you keep it like this? You keep it steady? You should keep it steady, yes. It's going to do whatever Bitcoin does at the end of the day, man. What about Stellar? What are we doing over here? Pretty fucking nasty. There's literally not even bullish divergence on Stellar from this point to this point. I mean, usually you'd see like something like that, just for like a pity bounce. I mean, this is just really bad. And weekly's in a meltdown. Not a good sign. Monero actually not breaking down as much as the other ones. In fact, Monero perhaps one of the more stronger cones in this market right now. Monero, you could even say that this might be a bull flag. Although looking at across the other exchanges, probably more of a descending triangle. But doing something like this, what I think is most likely. We could hit the top side of the range, $54, but until we get above it, until we get above this region, nothing's really changed here. Don't get me wrong, things can change, but those areas need to be taken out. Ripple would be 23 cents right here. I mean, this looks like a double top and down. It's so fucking nasty. It's so fucking bad, man. Like, this is just hilarious. What about EOS? Same thing. Looks exactly the same as the other ones. Neo, kind of fighting for it a little bit, I suppose. Looks like it just hit its resistance right here. If it does want to take another leg up, I'd be looking towards 975. Again, going to do what the rest of the market does. Tron, nice little retest of the 21, thus far rejected. Again, going to do what the rest of the market does. Bcash looks like it wants to test 217. Nice. Zcash actually rallied. That's great, man. That's fucking great. Although weekly's right at resistance, this has not been the best time for it. What else do we have? Do we have anything else? We could go look at Bitcoin dominance for a second here. Bitcoin dominance. Loading. While we wait for this piece of shit to load, let's go look at the Bitcoin VWAP ratio. Still below the regression. Pretty fucking bad. That has led on to all Bitcoin 70% plus moves in the past to the downside. I would still be long-term bullish on this. We are going to see weekly Stokes probably flip around relatively soon. We're going to see weekly RSI. I mean, it's just, this is not a bearish RSI. This is just coming back down to the neutral zone after being in the bullish neutral zone for a while. This is actually kind of like nice in a sense. You could even draw a trend line coming all the way back from here, right? And we're pretty much kind of, we probably come back down and test here. So we probably do have a little bit of downside, maybe come back down and graze at 21 here perhaps. But longer term, I do think that flips around and would be more or less bullish on it. Anyways, I think it's time to get back on a Bitcoin. Let's wrap this bitch up. So let's go to BitMexico. I actually do think that the short-term upside here, as long as we remain especially above 73, or sorry, what is this? Sorry, not 73, 72, 72.25, 72.30 right here. As long as Bitcoin remains above there, I actually do think that this targeted area here actually does get hit. But I'm not playing this. I'm not interested in this. This is not the time to be, getting wrapped up in my account's equity with bullshit moves like this when the next move is actually staring us in the face relatively soon, probably in this next week. If we do break to the downside below 71.20 on a 2-hour delta close, preferably a 4-hour, I would target a move down here towards 6650. 6900 would be I'd look for a bounce there perhaps first. To the upside, things are a little more tricky. I do think that Bitcoin can test around the 382 right around 7400 very easily, and not change anything from a descending triangle standpoint. But who's to say that we don't get one of these stray wicks to the upside? If we do get a stray wick to the upside, where would I kind of be looking towards? Probably 75.50-ish region. So if Bitcoin does break above this descending triangle trend line, I would keep it tight actually, just because technically yes, I would, you're supposed to look for a move towards 78.50 around your prior high as well, but this area is just ripe for fuckery, and this market is a fucking wick market is what it is. So I'd be a little bit cognizant of that, and probably I'm less inclined to play the upside here than the downside. So yeah. Anyways, with all of that said, I would like to wish you a phenomenal rest of your Saturday. Like I said, I'll probably be on Twitch later today. I'm gonna try a little bit of a Twitch stream. I've had a lot of fun with that in the past, and I got this great game to do it with, and maybe we might even see some action as well. So with all of that said, I'm going to go eat a shit ton of food. I'm hungry AF. That means as fuck. and until next time, wish you well over here from Helsinki, Finland. Take care.